Hey everybody, it's Golf Grom here. Today I'm going to be doing a video making my picks for this week's PGA Tour golf tournament, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. I'm going to try to make this something I do every week, so yeah, let's get right into it. I'm going to be making my top 5 picks of who I think can win, and then top 3 picks who are kind of sleeper picks, guys who I think could kind of come out of the blue and possibly win it. So let's get right into it. So we're going to start out with my top 3 outside picks that are just outside the top 5. I've got Tommy Fleetwood out there. I think Tommy Fleetwood is good for this because his game is pretty good right now. He just came off a strong win in Dubai a few weeks ago where he was going against players like Rory McIlroy to win. So that's a good sign that his game's in a good spot. The only thing that he's been lacking is just the PGA Tour. He's only competing in one tournament, even though it's early. There's the Century. He got a tie for 47th, so not great. But I think if he could play like he did in Europe, I think he could ultimately come out and win and get his first proverbial win on the PGA Tour at Pebble. I think this is a great opportunity for him to do that. Next on the list, I have Nick Dunlap. After an amazing win, he had the American Express at PGA West as an amateur, which hasn't happened since Phil Mickelson in 1991. He recently turned pro, and I think ultimately Pebble is a great place for him to get that second win. I'm not going to start hyping him up yet because he's only won one tournament, and we haven't really seen much of him. But I do think if he plays like he did last week, 2 weeks ago, at PGA West, you could assume that he could probably win more events, but I ultimately think that his game is in a good spot, and I think his future's bright, and I think Pebble would be a great place for him to win. Next, rounding out those top 3, I have Beau Hossler. I've got a good feeling about him. He just came off a good tie for 6 at the Farmers. He had a good chance at one point to win in the final round, just kind of slipped off. And he's got a little more experience than most people do at Pebble this week. Not many of the people competing this week have played Pebble in at least the last 5 years in their career. His last 2 starts at Pebble, he's had a 3rd place and a tie for 11th. So, he's got the experience there, and I think ultimately that could come into play at Pebble. And then he's also got 6 top 15s in his last 11 starts, so that's good. That's a good stat. He's staying consistent. I think ultimately he'll get that first win soon. I'm going into my top 5 of who I think can actually who I physically think will win. This isn't in a specific order. I just top 5 options. First one I've got is Scottie Scheffler. Obviously, he's number 1 in the world for a reason. He's got a really good game. I think if he could putt good, like, he was 2 years ago, he'll win easy. He just needs to get that putting down, and I think he could dominate here at Pebble. I think, he had the win at the Hero World. That was a really good win. He was flirting with that cut line at the American Express. That was the only thing that kind of concerned me, but he ended up finishing tied for 17th and then had a tie for 6th, I think it was, at Kapalua at the Century. So, yeah, if he could get that putting going, I think he could easily is the favorite to win. Next player I got is Xander Schauffele. Now, I like Xander because I like where his game's at right now. I was at the Farmers recently. You could go check out that video if you go to my channel. And got to watch him in the 3rd round. He was playing good golf. He was in contention. The only thing he wasn't doing good, very similar to Scottie Scheffler, he wasn't doing very good at putting. I think he just needs to get his putting going. I think he had a lot of good birdie opportunities in the 3rd and final round, and he just couldn't capitalize. He was hitting great drives, great iron shots. He just couldn't putt. So I think ultimately, if you get that putting down, he's going to win easily. I think this is a good year for him to play like he did in 2022 when he had all his wins. So I think he's a good pick if he get that putting down here at Pebble. I think this is a good place for him to get his first win in a while. Next player I have is Jordan Spieth. I think Jordan Spieth is in a good spot right now. He's only competed in one tournament this season, but it was a very strong tournament at the Century at Kapalua. He would have probably won if it weren't for that drive that ended up by the lip in the bunker. I think it was on hole 16 or 17. But I think his game's in a good spot. I think if he could play like he did there, he could very well be in contention. And yeah, I like where his game's at. And when Jordan Spieth is playing like Jordan Spieth, you know, he dominates. So I think he's a good pick for this week at Pebble. Next on my list, I have Justin Thomas. Now, JT struggled last year. You know, missed the FedEx Cup playoffs. We all know how that went. But recently, I think he's finally found his game. I kind of figured out when he did, I think, tie for 7th at this Fortinet shortly before the Ryder Cup. And he did good 2 weeks ago at the American Express in La Quinta. He had a tie for 3rd, was very well in it. Just, you know, Nick Dunlap did what he did. But I think JT, now that he's got his game back, I think now he's going to be a favorite in every tournament that he competes in. I think I like him in this tournament. I think he's ultimately going to be a good pick, and I think he'll get a win this year. And I think Pebble is a great place for him to get that win. And yeah. And then last on my list, I've got Rory McIlroy. Now Rory, his game's in a good spot right now. He recently won in Dubai at a tournament, and then the week before at the Dubai Invitational, he got a tie for 2nd. So 2nd and a 1st, back-to-back weeks in Europe. Pretty good, you know, had pretty strong fields in those tournaments. So I think, you know, he's making his PGA Tour debut this year. I think he'll do good at Pebble. We'll wait and see, but I think if he plays like he did in Europe, you could assume that he'll probably play good over here. And ultimately, again, kind of like Jordan Spieth and, you know, like all these guys, if he's playing like prime Rory McIlroy where he's solid, he's going to dominate, he's going to win everything. So I like Rory McIlroy in this tournament at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. So yeah, that's it. Those are my picks for this week at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. And make sure you guys like, subscribe to the videos, and yeah, we'll wait and see what happens.